Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Until My Watch is Over. This is a podcast where we talk about the devastating truths that dementia is a killer. It's the sixth top killing disease in our nation. This podcast not only talks about some of the struggles, the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, but it talks about awareness and it talks about supplies and equipment and different topics of discussion based on the discussion of dementia. Now, as we know, there are lots of different types of dementia, and we're not going to dive into that today specifically, but I want to talk about something that has been resonating with me a lot lately because I've been asked by several people what are some of the common stresses or stressors, I should say, that caregivers encounter when deciding to take care of a loved one or are taking care of a loved one, some of the things that arise. And I just want to say that like 60% of caregivers experience extreme strain. Okay. Some of these concerns are managing aggression, unpredictable behaviors, and changes, handling incontinence. That's a huge topic of discussion that will have its own episode, by the way. Ensuring safety, dealing with grief, exhaustion, and even financial strain. So I just wanted to talk to you about some of these challenges and just bring it to the table. Now, before I dive into that, I want to let you know that there are organizations and there's helplines. In this specific episode, I'm going to put the 24/7 helpline number. It's for the Alzheimer's Association, and you can call them anytime, 24/7, and just, ask questions. They are mastered by clinicians for crisis assistance care and consultation. A lot of times they might advise you to seek out, medical advice from your loved one's physician or, home health or hospice team or whatever stage your loved one's in, depending on what questions that arise. So Alzheimer's Association is a huge one because they are 24/7. You can call them at any time and ask them any questions that you have. Now, keep in mind, some questions I know that they're not able to answer. And one of the biggest questions, which if you listen to my last episode, is just asking the basic question is, when is my loved one going to start doing this or experiencing this or show this or demonstrate this or go through this? Some of those questions are based on the person individually, but there are specific questions that you can ask that they can answer. There's also the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, which is AFA. It's a toll-free helpline staffed by licensed social workers, okay? Then they're available 7 days a week. They also have a virtual, it's called a teal room, activities for both caregivers and patients. So that's another good resource that will help you if you are looking or needing that. There's another organization called Family Caregivers Alliance, FCA. And they specialize in resources for caregivers of adults with cognitive imperatives, or impairments, I should say, offering care, planning, legal, financial, consultation, vouchers even. They have vouchers for you and skills training. So that's another good resource for you. And then there's also one called Hilarity for Charity, and it's at HFC. And this is focused on younger caregivers and providers. It's a free online support group and respite grants that they can offer you. So there are sources available. There's legal government resources such as Elder Care Locator, which is the Area Agency on Aging called AAA. They can help you with transportation. They can help you with housing. They can help you with benefit programs that can help you to take care of your loved one. There's also the National Institute of Aging, the NIA. And this offers extensive health information, offers extensive health information articles, caregiving handbooks, and specialized tips for managing behaviors and sundowners. Don't know if you've experienced that yet with your loved one, but it can arise. Also, there's the VA caregiver support, which provides benefits for veterans and their family caregivers, okay, including health care, home loans, and respite services as well. So, and then there's Alzheimer's.gov that you can look up. Basically, a primary federal portal for finding local services. Okay. Now, what about respite care or peer support? Let's talk about that real quick. There are a few or a couple places that you can get a hold of, and you can find all of these. You can look these all up yourself. I'm just sharing them with you today because these are questions that were brought to my attention, and I thought I would do my due diligence and look them up for you and share the information that I have come across. Okay, there's the ARC National Respite Network. It helps find temporary care for providers, while programs like National Family Caregiver Support programs offer grants to cover these costs. That's a good one to know. When you're taking care of your loved one, it is okay to take time off. It's okay to take a break. If you need respite care, these are the people that you want to get a hold of to find out what options are out there for you. Okay. Now there's also online communities. The ALZ Connected is a free message board community where caregivers can share practical tips and find emotional support from peers. Now, for myself, I will share that before we start getting into some concerns and challenges that have come my way, there are many groups on dementia, types of dementia, Alzheimer's, Lewy body, frontal lobal, Parkinson's, all kinds of them, just caregiving, peer support groups, lots of groups on the internet. And no, they're not nurses, most of them. Some of them are. A lot of them are just caregivers like yourself that have very good information to share. And the reason that they're a good resource is because they've been through it or they're going through it or they understand where you're at. And sometimes when you're going through this journey, you just feel like you're all alone in it. Well, you're not. There's lots of different resources out there that you can dive into. Just look them up, get connected, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I had to ask so many questions as a caregiver over the last 20 years as I learned different things, different types of dementia, different types of behaviors, different types of all kinds of stuff, whether it's equipment, medical supplies, medications, behaviors, activities, just stimulation. Like if you're trying to get your loved one to maintain stimulation and to get them stimulated so that they keep functioning day in and day out, how to help them with their motor skills. There's all kinds of questions out there for people with dementia, and there's lots of answers. And this podcast is basically just a tool. It's a help. It's one more area where you can come and get some advice. And do I know everything? No. Am I a doctor? No. I am a licensed caregiver, and I've been doing this for X amount of years, 20 plus years. And I do have a lot of experience in dealing with different types of medical issues, needs, and whatnots, if you will, in regards to dementia. So just wanted to put that out there. But let's talk about some of the key concerns and challenges, okay? These are the challenges that caregivers face that I talked about in the beginning of this episode. And I want to just touch base, not dive into each one specifically, because that in itself would be an episode of its own. But let's talk about a couple of these. So behavioral and personality changes. Okay, in my last episode, if you missed it, in episode number 11, I talked about the different stages. And in these stages, you're going to see different cognitive declines where your loved one may not be functioning or participating or remembering or reacting, responding, or have the ability to do certain things, okay? So one of those things is behavioral and personality changes that seem to decline with this horrible disease, okay? I want to talk about one of the concerns. One concern that really gets talked about a lot is how do you manage agitation? How do you manage their anxiety? How do you manage their anger? What about when they're paranoid? They have paranoia. That is a major stressful challenge. So make sure that you're getting plugged in and you get connected to some of these groups, because there's a lot of groups that will help you walk through these specific situations. So just as an example, there was a time that my grandmother, while I was taking care of her, While she was living with me, there was a few times where she would try to leave or want to go or get out of here. Something would make her feel uncomfortable or uneasy, or she just didn't remember where she was. The surroundings were not familiar to her, and she would panic. She would try to get her purse, and she would start packing up her stuff, and she was out the door, babe, like I'm out of here. So if that's what you're facing and what you're going through, that is a challenge, and to learn how to deal with that and cope with that um, is not always easy, and it can be stressful on the person that's trying to give appropriate care to the person they're taking care of. One of the other concerns and challenges is physical care demands. Okay, assisting with daily activities like bathing, dressing, eating, managing incontinence is really a big one. Um, and not only are they, big challenges and they are a demand, they're also exhausting. Okay. These are exhausting demands that can be put on you as a caregiver. And trust me, I understand. I completely understand the weight of this exhaustion. Okay. Now, the other challenge and concern is safety and security. Constant worries about wandering. What if they wander off? What if this happens? What if they, normally they go for a walk every morning. This time they didn't come back. Okay, whoops, that happens. Okay, it's happened. I've heard many, 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 many stories, and I've only experienced it one time. Actually, I've experienced it twice. Once with my mom and once with my grandmother. Um, Stories to share for a later day, but. Talk about terrifying. It's very terrifying when your loved one decides to wander off and you don't know where they went. Sometimes we want to just hang a bell around their neck or, put noisemakers on their shoes or whatever so that we know exactly where they're at a constant. Um, Sometimes they slip through the cracks. They get right out the front door and bam, you're stuck with the situation. It can be very, very scary worrying about their safety and their security. Are they going to be okay? Are they going to get hurt? It's a constant worry about, is an accident going to happen? Or we want to make sure as caregivers that we're ensuring, a safe and organized environment. There's tips and tricks for that as well, too, in another episode. A lot of these are just little glimpses of what is to come in some of the episodes that I'm going to be come forth. And so stay tuned, follow me, like and share. Another concern or challenge is emotional and mental health. Caregivers frequently face exhaustion, depression, and anxiety, and social isolation. Social isolation, can't even say that word, is a huge one. Sometimes you will find yourself becoming recluse and stuck in your home day in and day in and day out for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. You need to take a break. We talked about respite care a little bit earlier. It's important that you seek out respite care. You get outside, you get fresh air, go outside. It's the best thing that'll help you, I guarantee it. Go to the store. I found myself ordering my stuff from the grocery store, going to the grocery store, just loading up my truck and coming home. The only social activity I had was the person that brought the food out to my truck. So if that's you, try to figure out ways where you can do these things. Have someone come in and help for a day. Have someone come in and help for a couple of hours so that you can step outside and be sociable with other people. I guarantee you it'll bring on so much anxiety if you don't. Okay. It's really, really, really triggering. Okay. You definitely want to make sure that you're paying attention to your own emotional and mental health as well. Now, there's another thing called emotional burnout. I mean, not emotional, excuse me, caregiver burnout and guilt. Sometimes we feel guilty as caregivers if we ask for a day off or we need a break. I remember at one point in my 6 years of taking care of my grandmother, I was asked if I wanted to quit, if I didn't want to do it anymore. Quitting wasn't an option for me, but having a break was. I needed a break. I needed a vacation. I didn't have a vacation in 2.5 years. And prior to me taking on a 24/7 full-time job with my grandmother, I was a goer. And the 3 years that I had her before the latter 3 years, I could take her with me. I had to rearrange everything, how I did everything to accommodate her, but at least I could still leave the house and I could go. We could go for day drives. We could go for weekenders. We could go visit family in an Airbnb as long as we made her comfortable and it wasn't too much on her. These were things that I would do to get her out of the house and to get myself out of the house. But when I got down to the point where I couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't go up and down the stairs. Before my grandma passed away, excuse me, this past March, she hadn't even been outside in a year. I remember just taking her out on the deck when on a beautiful sunny day, so she can, see the backyard and the flowers and the trees and try to get some fresh air herself. She would have a panic attack. She didn't want to be out there. It was too much for her. Very, very overstimulating. We've got to be careful for overstimulation. So there's things that you can do, like have someone come in, have someone sit with your loved one so that you can get past the burnout. Take breaks, take daily breaks throughout your day, your shift. If you're a 24/7 person, you need to take breaks throughout the day. Take a break in the morning. They do sleep, and I know sometimes when they sleep, we sleep. But I know there's also times that they're asleep and you're awake. That's when you get your time. Take your time. Do something nice for yourself. Get a book, go sit outside on the patio, have your baby monitor if you need it so you can listen in. Um, get get a cup of tea or get a soda or whatever your beverage of choice is. Go outside and sit out there, drink some cold water, and take 15 minutes just to yourself. It's okay. That will help reduce the burnout. Now, the guilt that comes with that is you think, oh, if I'm giving myself this time, I'm not giving it to my loved one. If you don't take care of yourself and you don't fill up your battery, you don't have much to give them anyway. You're a walking time bomb. You don't want to do that. You need to not feel guilty for taking care of you because no one else is going to take care of you. You have to take care of you. Okay. Now, luckily for me, my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter and my grandchildren, I had people that could step in and help me occasionally. They didn't do it all the time, but they could give me a 15-minute break so I could go outside and mow the lawn or do some gardening or plant some flowers or walk my dog around the block. Those are things that I was starting to really, really miss out on. And I was starting to get depressed because I wasn't doing the things that I normally would enjoy doing because I felt this obligation. I felt this guilt, this overwhelm, and this burnout. Don't allow yourself to do that. It's okay to take a break, okay? You do not need to feel like whatever you're doing is never going to be enough. It will always be enough. It's going to be enough. You can only do what you can do. Okay. Now, communication difficulties. This can be frustrating when you're trying to communicate with your loved one as a caregiver and they cannot reciprocate. They cannot communicate back with you. And it's frustrating. You want to know what they want to eat. They can't tell you. So you make them something to eat and they won't eat it. Then you're thinking, well, maybe they're not hungry. Maybe they don't like your food. Maybe today's not a taco day, it's a cheeseburger day, or maybe it's just a ham and cheese sandwich day, or maybe she wants soup, or he or she. I refer to she a lot because I took care of my grandmother, my mother, so forgive me for that. Doesn't matter, he or she. But anyhow, when the communication stops happening and they cannot verbalize to you what their needs are, you have to step in and advocate and just make adjustments to that. Play trial and error. Pick this one day. If she doesn't like the jello one day, give her pudding. If she doesn't like the hot chocolate, give her a protein milkshake. If she doesn't like apple juice, the next day try orange juice, or even in the same day. There's times when I've tried 5 or 6 different things in one meal. I couldn't get her to eat yogurt. Okay, let's try applesauce. Couldn't get her to eat applesauce. Okay, let's try jello. Couldn't get her to eat jello. Okay, how about some pudding? And it's okay to have these things available is a good idea, by the way. Get your pantry stocked with just a few things that you could entice them with to try to get them to eat. So they can't explain to you what they're in the mood for. Like sometimes we're like, hey, I'm in the mood for Chinese. I'm in the mood for Mexican. How about Italian tonight? How about we just barbecue in the backyard? How about we just make a sandwich and have some soup? They can't communicate what they want. Do they want toast? Do they not want toast? Do they want butter? Do they not want butter? These things can be a barrier, okay, in taking care of your loved one. And it can be very, 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 very frustrating. And I say this because, I've encountered it. But what I learned to do is instead of getting frustrated with her, I just opened up more options. I started looking up resources, like what kind of foods. And then I got to a point where I had to be careful about what my loved one ate, my grandmother, because she started not being able to swallow and she would choke on everything. Like, for an example, cranberry juice. She loves cranberry juice. She would rather have that over orange or apple juice, but she would choke on it. Why? Because it's bitter. And I would still give it to her, but I would not give it to her with food because she would choke even more. Orange juice and apple juice she could have with food, but cranberry juice she could not. So I had to just wait. I would give her her food first and then give her her juice, and I would have her water right there. So if she needed to take a drink because it was making her choke up a little bit, I could give her water. You just have to have that preparation done. You have to be ahead of the game. You have to be mindful of what it is that's going to work for her or him. And understand they're not going to communicate with you. And sometimes they're going to say, I don't want it. And they're not hungry. That's okay. If they don't want to eat it, don't force them. Just cover it up, go put it back in the fridge or wherever whatever it is. Put it away. Wait an hour or so, and then maybe they're going to be hungry. Bring it back out and say, "Hey, look what we got. We got you some breakfast or lunch or whatever, meal time you're getting close to." Sometimes my grandma wanted breakfast for dinner. So I even stopped saying, here's your breakfast, here's your lunch, here's your dinner. I would just say, are you hungry? I made you something to eat. That way she didn't be like, well, I don't want breakfast. Well, I don't want lunch. I don't want dinner. She'd be like, oh, I'm hungry. And she would eat. And that worked for us. Okay. It may not work for you. They may refuse and refuse and refuse and refuse. Another thing that I noticed with some of the communication difficulties is, changing their diapers. Okay. Um, you're going to get to a point where your loved one will not tell you that they need a diaper change. And sometimes you will go, oh, I know they need a diaper change. Why? Because we know. I'm not going into that. Y'all can figure that out on your own. But we need to change their diaper. And they're like, no, I don't need a diaper change. And you're like, yes, you do. And, you have to give them a couple minutes to process. They can't process like we process. Their mind has slowed way down. So sometimes you just have to remind them. Sometimes like, oh, okay, I get it. And sometimes they refuse. No, my diaper is fine. There's sometimes you have to change their diaper. You need to change it right then and there. No questions asked. And you're just going to have to explain to them in a way that's kind and caring and let them know that you're doing it for them, not because it's convenient for you. No diaper change is ever convenient for us anyway. So anybody ever that would ever think that would be poop loopy. Anyhow, getting back to that, communication frustration can arise when there is that memory loss and that language barrier. Okay. They don't know how to process words. They don't know how to remember what their body's going through, what their mind's going through. So the language and the memory loss, they become disconnected. And I can say this because my grandmother did this. I realized that her language and her memories, they weren't lining up at all. And so I actually talked to her healthcare provider, her RN, the RN that would come out every month, and say, this is what I'm noticing. And I go, it's almost as if there's a disconnect, like somebody unplugged the two. And I said, this is what I'm noticing. This is this is what we're doing to try to accommodate that. And do you have any suggestions for me? It's okay to ask your care provider that's coming to your home, whether it be home health care, or even if you just go to the doctor, ask them, hey, can you give me some suggestions as to what you think I should do in this situation? They may not have the perfect solution, but they're going to give you some tips. Okay. She was like, I think what you're doing is fine. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Sometimes she'd be like, okay, well, no, if that isn't working, why don't you try this? I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that one. Okay, thank you. I'm going to jot that down, write it down. Then I have that to fall back on for the next time it comes up again. Okay. Another area of challenges or concerns is financial strain. Some of your loved ones, their insurance changes. They can't get certain things. They can't get certain medical supplies. They can't get certain medications. Talk to the provider. If you talk to the person that's providing the health care that they need, they have avenues and they will tell you what they are. If you do this, you can do this. If you can't do that, then we'll change it to this. We'll do this. Things can be altered and shifted based on your financial abilities and based on your insurance. If I had questions, I found out with my grandmother, which I did not know this, we were paying out of pocket for her, her stool softeners, her vitamins, her Desitin cream, um, her lotions, her just basic skin lotion because their skin dries out, they become dehydrated. Just basic things. And one time she said to me, "Oh, I can order that for you." And I said, "You can order what?" And she said, "I can order the Desitin for you." And I said, "You can?" I've been paying like I get a tube like this big and it's like $7, $8, $9. And all along the insurance could have been paying for it. That's one less cost that I could be thankful for and be able to spend my money elsewhere. Like buying her the extra foods and the applesauces and stuff like that, because they don't provide those kind of things. Some insurances will pay for protein shakes. Don't know if you know that. Like the Ensures and whatever protein shakes that you're getting. Sometimes they might be the generic brand. You might want a specific brand, like the Nestle brand, and they be like, no, you can only get the Equate. Okay, well, that's okay. Take what you can get. If the insurance will cover it, save yourself that financial strain. There's avenues that you can take and there's help that you can get. There's also like those in the beginning when I was talking to you about the programs. There's programs that have grants that will help you along depending on your financial situation and your insurance and all of that. Okay, so remember that you can do that. Okay, you're not alone. Now, another challenge that comes along and concern is loss of self and loss of grief. Okay, experiencing ambiguous loss. That means when you're emotionally taking care of somebody that is absent, they're no longer able to reciprocate who you are, what you're doing, why you're around them, anything about you. That can be wrecking, by the way. That can be really hard to handle. You need to understand, even though they're sitting there, their mind is not there. Their capabilities and abilities are gone. Okay. They're no longer. They are absent. Okay. Don't force it. Just try to understand it. Is it easy? Absolutely not. It is never easy. When they talk about the long goodbye, it seriously is the longest goodbye. I'm not even going to lie to you. It is. You know, that ambiguous loss is so hard when you're taking care of someone that doesn't even know you're there. You'll be sitting in the same room with them. You'll walk by them and say, hi, or pat them on the back. And I used to love to go and I would rub my grandma's hair or comb her hair or give her a shoulder rub. And sometimes she'd go, oh, that feels nice. That feels really nice. And then she'd look back at me like, who are you? Why are you touching me? And she'd kind of be like, whoa, kind of freak her out. So you just got to be careful. Don't be too alarming when you're doing these things. So you'll understand that, or you shouldn't, or you need to understand. Let me rephrase all of that verbiage just now. Um, when people get dementia, it doesn't. There none of the stuff they had before will come back. It does not come back to you. It's not like a boomerang. You throw it, it comes back. Okay, no, dementia when it goes, it's gone. You may have good moments. Okay, especially in the very end, you're gonna have moments where they remember things. We'll talk about that in another episode. So, with these common stressors, though, you're going to have unpredictable behaviors. The idea is you need to make sure that you're reducing safety, and you're also going to deal with sleep deprivation because your patterns of sleep are disrupted. They're no longer sleeping at night. They're waking up 2, 3, 4 times a night, and then sleeping 2 or 3 hours in the day, or not, or staying up sometimes 24/7. There's a period where my grandma didn't sleep for like 3 days, and I thought I was going to go nuts. I was so tired, and I had to have someone come in and step in because I was exhausted and I couldn't take care of her, around the clock 3, 4, or 5 days in a row. Make sure you have people helping you, okay? And I say that, and I understand it. So some of you are going to go, yeah, sure. Like, no one's going to help me. Like, you have family members that just are not able to do what we do, okay? Don't get mad at them. Just get that respite care. Get a hold of the insurance. Find out your options so that you're not stuck in it by yourself, okay? Um, you'll also find out that you neglect your self-care. You don't go to the doctor. I needed to go to the dentist for over a year. I finally was able to go. Still have complications because I did not take care of my dental needs when I need to. And I was on the side, I'm like, I'm looking in the camera. So I have complications, because it got really infected and the infection actually clear went up into my brain and actually could have killed me. Did not know that until I went to the dentist and he was like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I did not know it was that bad. But you neglect yourself because you're so worried about them. You have to take care of yourself. If that means hiring respite, some respite means taking your loved one to a nursing home for a short period of time. It could be, I think my grandma's respite was, she was allowed to be there for 2 weeks out of the year. So you can pick and choose. And they had to stay, they had to, or she had to go for like 3 days at a time was, I think, a minimum. But they had like 2 weeks of time that they could give you, throughout that year. And then it turns over because of the insurance. Okay. So be careful that you're not neglecting your own self care. So, these are just some of the challenges, some of the common questions, some of the concerns that come up while you're taking care of your loved one. And I'm hoping that as I've shared these resources, as I've given you some of the insights, that this is a helpful episode for you. And anyhow, I just want to say that you're not alone in this walk. There's so many people. There's literally so many people out there that are getting dementia, and there's so many people out there that are having to take care of their loved ones because it's such an expense. And I understand that. My grandmother did not go into a nursing home out of choice. We did have options, and we resourced all of those options, what can make it a little easier. But I myself personally chose not to put her in a nursing home. Um, she could have went into a nursing home. Would she have been in the best nursing home? With her insurance? No, she would not have been in the best nursing home. I know some nursing homes are good, and I know some nursing homes are not so good. I'm not trying to knock any of them because, I know it's a tough job. It's hard. It's also hard hiring someone to come in and help you. Do it. It's okay. There were times when I would ask for help, and they'd say, well, go get it, and you pay for it. I couldn't afford to pay for it. You know, um, caregiving, you just don't get paid a lot of money. It's not a get rich kind of occupation, if I should say, but it is worth it because your loved one's worth it. And if you love them, then it's worth every minute of it. And so keep that in mind. There's so many different options out there, like I said in the beginning. And I will put a lot of this information in the show notes if you didn't write them down or if I went too fast, or you can go back and rewatch the beginning of the video and write it down yourself. Just go on Google or wherever you get your information and look up resources for caregivers that take care of people with dementia. Look up challenges that caregivers face while taking care of a person with dementia. You're going to get some of these answers, and it might better help you as to how to handle them, what to do. And again, those support numbers, those 1-800 numbers that are 24/7, don't be afraid to call them. Don't be like, oh, if I call them, they're going to think I don't know what I'm doing. That's not what they're there for. They're not there to put their finger on you and ridicule you for what you're doing. They're there to actually help you. They want to help you. That's why they came up with this program. So don't be afraid to utilize it. Use it to the best that you can so that you do not get burnt out and have all this overwhelming guilt. Because let me tell you, it's not worth that. It's not worth it. Okay, keep your batteries charged, at least half or more. Okay. I know I say that lightly, but there's times when I was at the very end of my battery and I was like, if I do not do something, I'm gonna collapse. I'm exhausted. I'm frustrated. I'm like, overwhelmed. Don't let things overwhelm you if you can. That's all I'm saying. And anyhow, I hope that this episode is helpful for you. I hope that you gained something from it, hopefully a lot from it. And hey, if you want to be on the show and you want to come and talk about some things you're experiencing and or questions that you may have or answers that you may actually have, some advice you may be able to give to other people that are going through this, or if you have some ins and outs, some do's and don'ts that have worked for you, or equipment or products that you use that have been a win-win or complete loss for you, we want you on the show. I want you to come on here and talk about things that work for you when caring for dementia. It's helpful. We need to get this community up, running, and rolling. Why? Because approximately 240,000 people every year are diagnosed with dementia of some sort. What are we doing? We're not talking about it. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it is the sixth top killing disease in our nation. It is a killer. It is no fun. It is not a great thing to go through, but it is something that we do not have to go through alone. We can have someone on our side, always. One phone call away, one episode away from learning or gaining some knowledge. So chime into the next episode. If you haven't watched the past episodes, watch them and know this: you're not alone. You're loved. You are cared for. And keep on doing what you're doing, because you know what? You're doing a great job. And if nobody's told you that, I want to tell you that, because there are days when I just thought I was failing. Like I was doing a horrible job. I mean, I could share stories. I won't today because this episode is ending, but you are not alone in this, and you are doing a great job. Okay. Give yourself grace. There's always grace. Okay. I want you to know that you're cared for, you're loved, and you are so appreciated. So with that being said, this has been another great episode of Until My Watch is Over, and I will see you in the next episode. So make sure you like, follow, and share, and hit me up if you want to be on the show. Let me know. Y'all take care.